Okay, so thank you so much for that introduction. My name is Rosie, and as you said, I am part of the Adaptech Research Network. I'm going to just start the PowerPoint presentation, and hopefully you can all see this in full screen mode right here, and all hear me as well. Okay, so we wanted to, I see a black bar right where my presentation is. I'm hoping you don't see that. All right, so we are going to start with a PowerPoint presentation, and then we're going to show a quick video which shows demonstrations of the different. Okay, sorry. We're going to start with the presentation, and then we're going to have a video which highlights how to download the Chrome extensions, as well as about 9 or so different Chrome extensions for students with disabilities. And then we're going to move on to Q&A. Although, as I said, if there's anything kind of pressing or urgent, let me know. So why did we start this initiative? Today you heard Catherine and Mary, you may have heard Catherine and Mary talk about research, and generally that's the kind of research that Adaptech does. But we were finding over and over and over that people with disabilities were saying that they were not using assistive technology. And generally the reason they weren't using the assistive technology was because of price, because of lack of training, or because they were afraid of stigma. They were afraid of sticking out, of being different than their peers. So we know this. And then we also know that Chrome extensions, the Chrome browser, pardon me, is by far the most popular browser in North America. So what we did is we looked into what kind of Chrome extensions existed. So we did that in different ways by looking at different articles, kind of, the top 10 articles for like students or whatnot for people with disabilities, etc. But also simply by, typing in things like reading, writing, note-taking, productivity, mice alternatives, things of that nature. And we quickly discovered 180. And honestly, there are more out there, I'm sure. I keep constantly finding more, but we have 180, and then from that we took out any of them that had not been updated within the last 2 years. There might be 1 or 2 exceptions if it's a unique extension, but in general, if they have not been updated in the last 2 years, or if or if they were deemed kind of unsafe or risky to download, then they were taken out, which left us with about 110. And to date, we have picked 50 to download, to try out, to test out. And those were picked based on price, based on popularity, and based on unique features. So I'm gonna just move this okay. So what is a Chrome extension, right? If you've never heard of this before, in short, a Chrome extension is a little piece of software that attaches to your Chrome browser, and it generally does one of 2 things. Either it changes the way your browser works, and that could mean things like changing the display options, like changing the background color, changing the way you navigate something, changing the size of the text that's displayed or how the text is displayed, or it can add on a different feature, a different service that you didn't already have. So for example, text-to-speech, for example, Grammarly, Todoist, a lot of the bigger names that we already know, those are add-ons that you would normally have to go to a website to access, and now you can access with a few clicks. So it's important to know that it is possible for Chrome extensions to be viruses or to be malware. And so it might be a bit of overcaution, overcautionary tips, but it's important to kind of at least be aware that of the first tip, which is, do you know and trust the producer, the person who's making the Chrome extension? Is it something like Microsoft or Google, which they're legitimate companies, or is it a name or like a bunch of letters and you don't know what that means? Those the people who are making that doesn't mean the developer, that's the word I was looking for. Unknown developers don't mean unsafe extensions, but they can mean that, right? So it's important to kind of maybe go on the website to see things like, is the information on the website different or the same as the information on the Chrome store? Because if it is the same, then it kind of leads some credibility, and you can do some research in terms of who that developer is to find out, again, how credible they are. The other thing you can look into to decide whether this is an extension that you are comfortable using is the permissions needed. So for instance, if it's a speech to text application, it may be normal, for instance, that it might want to access your keyboard because it's simulating you typing, and so therefore permissions to that make sense. But at the same time, sometimes permissions don't, and so that is something to take a look at. So they also, you might also really, if you're really going deep into all this, you might want to know why do they need those permissions? Do they describe that on their website? And also you might want to know, do they have a privacy policy, and how does that apply to you? Are you comfortable with that? So how to install a Chrome extension. There's going to be a little part of that in the video, but in short, be connected to your Chrome store, pardon me, be connected to your Gmail, go to the Chrome web store, type in a little search bar at the top what you're looking for, hit add extension, and then you may get a pop-up window. You probably will, and that will come to those permissions to some extent. It'll ask if you're sure you want to add it to Chrome. And then when you do that, you've already added the Chrome extension. So what is assistive technology? I kind of assume that many of you probably already know this, but in short, anything that allows you to do something in a different way than you may have already done so. So on the screen, there is a chart, a visual basically of assistive technology in the middle, and then all the different outshoots of what it can do, like reading, writing, note-taking, helping with visual tasks or auditory tasks, et cetera, communication, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about assistive technology versus Chrome extensions. And this is kind of like what we thought might be the case, is in general, Chrome extensions can be a lot less expensive than traditional assistive technology tools. So not always the case, but it can be less expensive. And it might be helpful for students because it is kind of made for the general public. Yes, there are now some that are made specifically for students with disabilities, but often when we looked into things, for instance, if you looked at like options to the mouse, for instance, it's not necessarily made for students with or people with mobility difficulties. It's made for people who are trying to be more productive, right? And so because of that, it's, I think, a little bit more societal. More people are doing it, and therefore there may be less stigma than going to get a specific tool that nobody knows about. Chrome extensions, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong slide. Pardon me. Chrome extensions also, the level of training that's available, the level of information available will vary. Some of the more known ones will have videos and whatnot. Some of them will not, but it's kind of on your onus, on the student's onus, to go and look into this information. And yeah, so there may be minimal training. It's kind of even though they've been available literally for 10 years, to some extent or another, extensions have been, it's not really well known yet. And so this is different. Now, if we look at assistive technology, often they are more expensive. That is changing. That is absolutely changing. Like, you know, a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, JAWS used to be, let's say, $1,600. Now it's about $99 per year. So it is changing, but in general, they're more expensive. Students may avoid to use them, as I mentioned, because of fear of stigma, pardon me. And often they're very comprehensive. They have a lot of training around them, and you know, it could be like a one-stop shop for one person, for students. Just, I'm gonna learn this tool, and that's all I have to learn. Versus an extension, it might be a little bit different. And yeah, so that's in general, kind of, we look at those two things. They have historically been, I think, more separate than they are today. So I will say that there are some kind of super extensions or some extensions that are more comprehensive and that mimic more the assistive technology tools that we know and or love or hate, or that we know and love. And so often these are $99 or more, generally around that $100 price point. And they often offer a lot of comprehensive tools, and some of the tools that are less likely to be found in Chrome extensions. So things like, for example, optical text recognition, or word prediction, for example, or picture dictionaries. Those things exist in some cases, but not always. So two great examples of those are Read and Write, which does have a free option with, I think, just text to speech available for free. But if you want everything, you do have to pay for it. Or Helperbird, which was absolutely new to me, that has a lot of really cool features, including different ways to navigate and other disability-specific tools that I haven't really seen before. There's another one that will come up that is also interesting for educators in the school systems, where it's like teachers and students could kind of work together within a separate platform. But these are the two that I have found to be the most kind of universal, the most comprehensive, but yes, they cost about $100 per year. Okay, so now we're going to dive into kind of the different types of Chrome extensions, the different aspects of assistive technology, and see how they compare in the Chrome extension world to see whether or not this may or may not be something beneficial for your students. Let me know if you can't hear me or if I'm speaking too fast. I have a tendency to do that, so feel free to interrupt me. So if we look at reading tools, specifically related to, like I said, that Chrome extension / AT kind of realm, often it's things like text to speech, which is very, very, very common, and things like the ability to change the text size or color, the background color, those themes, spacing of both lines, and also column width. And then if you look at more of the Chrome side of it, you also have something different, which is more about taking out distractions, taking out things like ads, or taking out all the clutter that is around the extension, that is around your article. So three readers that are pretty good for that is Clearly Reader, which is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a free tool. You have Helperbird, as I already mentioned, and then Read and Write, again, I already mentioned, and then the Read Aloud, which is, I believe, another free tool. And so you have those three tools will all help in terms of, pardon me, I don't think Read Aloud, sorry, I'm slowing my word. I don't think Read and Write will remove the distractions around, which I think is not why it's not on here. But these three tools kind of cover your basic reading, literacy tools related to reading and not writing. If we look at unique features, something like a word cloud or something like rulers and that sort, there were not that many word cloud options. The one that I found that worked, relatively well is word cloud generator. And then in terms of different rulers and whatnot, there are others that have like where the whole screen will go black or get blurred and only like a small section shows up as a ruler. But one that was unique was